And a very warm welcome to the Late Breaking F1 podcast presented by Harry Yeed, Sam Sage, and me, Ben Hocking. Apologies to all Patreon subscribers because that's the second time you've heard that awful joke, but here we are. Hello, Sam.
It's become our new personality. We are now the Carlos Sainz Radio Message Podcast, and that's how it's going to stay for the future being. So I will be the radio, Ben can be Carlos Sainz, and Harry can be Ricky.
I think I've won.
I'm Ricky.
I'm
doesn't
Carlos
turn
Sainz.
up.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
a radio.
I don't have to do anything. I'm Ricky.
It is true. I usually try to speak to Harry. He just doesn't respond to me.
Hello.
Hello. That's all we're going to do for like an hour, 15 minutes is talk about that radio message. There's one topic today. Just kidding. We've got F1 back and forth coming up later on. And plenty of chat about Yuki Tsunoda having an Abu Dhabi test. We've got Franco Colapinto, his future. We're going to start, though, with Lando Norris and some comments that came out after the Brazilian Grand Prix. Now, he had the following to say about strategy, red flag, and the like. You can change your tyres under the red flag. It's what others did. So just unlucky and unfortunate. Sometimes it just goes your way. The McLaren driver urged his team to consider pitting him before he changed tyres, hoping to gain an advantage on race leader George Russell ahead of him. He insisted the team tactics were correct. So there's nothing we did wrong. I don't care what people say. Staying out was not the right thing to do. It shouldn't have been red flagged, but obviously there was the crash in the end, which caused the red. So it's just life. Sometimes you take a gamble. It's paid off for them. It's not talent. It's just luck. Just a bit unlucky. Sam, you gave some initial thoughts on this in a Patreon episode that people won't have heard yet. But what are your thoughts?
I was quite frustrated by this comment. Lando has made a bit of a reputation of coming after world champions when they seem to outsmart him or do something that maybe he didn't get right. He's previously said to Sebastian Vettel that maybe that he should just focus more on his driving. He's previously said to Lewis Hamilton that he only won because of the car he had for many years. And how he said to Max Verstappen, essentially, that it's not talent, it's luck. And in Formula One, you kind of make your own luck. And whilst I understand the point I think he's tried to make that, you know, sometimes these situations fall in your lap a little bit and whatever, it's on you to capitalize. And we've said previously in the race review, we said it in our power rankings, we've said it in other Patreon episodes. When the weather is this hectic, when there are this many accidents or this many problems, you have to cater in for the fact that safety cars, red flags, which aren't abundant in modern Formula One, they come out all the time these days. Even VSCs, they're going to appear. And at a racetrack like that, at a Brazilian Grand Prix that we just had, this is going to be a very frequent event. This is going to happen. So as you're getting to the end of your stint and the weather's getting worse, hang on for it. Wait for it a little later. The bit that also troubled me was his stubbornness around saying that his strategy was definitely the right strategy call and it was the right thing to do, where we had literally seen a couple of laps beforehand that Charles Leclerc had pitted, got onto the new tyres, and had just been stuck behind cars significantly slower than him. So he was not far enough ahead in that battle at the time that he would have come out in second place. It wouldn't have allowed him to rejoin in clean air and essentially get the jump on George Russell. He would have come out in traffic at that moment in time. And therefore, we know with hindsight that even without the red flag, it might not have been the right call at that moment to go for the pit stop because you may have been stuck in traffic and lost time. And that traffic might have included Max Verstappen at that moment as well, putting you right on the same bit of tarmac as your direct rival. So I don't appreciate his comments directed at Max. It feels like it's coming across as a little bit bitter and frustrated. I also don't really enjoy how he's seeing his strategy because that feels like he's a bit ill-informed when we have live evidence that that doesn't work. So it's a 2-for-2 knockout for Lando. Not a good call, in my opinion.
What do you think, Harry?
I think he will regret the way he's phrased this. But I can see the point he was trying to make here. It was the somewhat lucky on the part of the Alpines and Verstappen that they pit, and it was somewhat unlucky that the Norris and McLaren pit, and the same for George Russell. However, that's just the way it goes sometimes, and it's the way the cookie crumbles. And they made that call, so I see the point he was trying to make. He worded it terribly. And it made it sound. It made him sound like a bit of a sore loser. However, I wouldn't change this. I wouldn't change Norris. I wouldn't try and make Norris not say these things, because I rate the passion and the this is immediately after the races has happened. He's upset. His championship challenge is over based on that race. I know it was looking tough anyway, but it's over. And he's microphone shoved in his face, and he's annoyed. And I know after the fact, I'm sure if you spoke to him 3 hours later on, I'm sure he wouldn't have phrased it like this or said it like it. It's just emotions in the moment. So, and I want that. I want that from drivers. I don't want them all to be PR machines. It's why we love Fernando Alonso and people like that. And Lewis Hamilton, they say how they feel in the moment.
Straight to Domenicali sometimes, right?
Well, exactly. That's an excellent clip, by the way, if you've not seen that. But yeah, that's what I mean. I want my F1 drivers to be like this, and I know it comes across. I agree, it comes across badly for Lando. It doesn't make him look very gracious in the moment, and I'm sure he would rephrase and regrets the way he's phrased this at the time, because there's no doubt he has respect for Verstappen. I'm sure he has respect for what Verstappen did on Sunday. But the way he's phrased it made it sound like he was just very, very sore about the way this went. So I'm sure he has regrets, but I wouldn't change it, and I hope he doesn't change the way he comes out with comments directly after a race. It's happened a couple of times this year. Maybe be more careful, but don't change the way you're talking.
I think Lando Norris has kind of always been outspoken when it comes to the red flag rules. And to be honest, I've been fairly similar. I do think the red flag rule is fundamentally unfair, particularly in these conditions. It doesn't sit well with me that teams are encouraged to be riskier when it comes to staying out on a tyre that isn't suitable for the conditions. We had drivers, and I don't blame the drivers for this, but we had countless drivers wanting a red flag when they were on the intermediate tyre. And that it's very easy for the FIA to turn around and say, well, you want a red flag, but also you're not willing to go onto the wet weather compound. So should we really be red flagging this? And so often we do see Ocon and Gasly and Verstappen, they were rewarded for staying out on an intermediate tyre that wasn't suitable for conditions. And in conditions that are already so tough, like I said, it doesn't quite sit right with me that we are encouraging these drivers to be more unsafe in already unsafe conditions. I'm unsure what the correct answer is, by the way, on the red flag rule. I think it's something that still needs addressing. I think it's something we've been aware needs addressing for a few years now, but the right solution still hasn't come along. Having said all of that, all 20 drivers know the rules. It's the same for everyone. So, you play it based on risk versus reward. On balance, in terms of what Norris is saying about the strategy, I think he's right. I think he is right to say the team didn't do anything wrong on the strategy. I think what you said, Harry, maybe in the race review, I thought was correct, which is if you're going by the book, McLaren did what McLaren was supposed to do when they pit Lando Norris. My instinct is that the red flag probably doesn't come out for just the conditions. I could be wrong on that. We know Colapinto brought out the red flag when he crashed. If that doesn't happen, do they just red flag it because it's too wet? Maybe, maybe not. It was starting to get a little bit better sort of 5 minutes afterwards. So there's at least the potential that they just let it run. The only problem I have with Lando Norris's statement is just similar to what you said, Harry. It's just a minor rephrasing of it's not talent, it's just luck. Because immediately, I'm convinced he doesn't mean this. Immediately, you think he's calling Verstappen lucky and not talented, which isn't. I don't believe he's saying that. I believe he is just saying the call to stay out is luck and not talent, which, to an extent it is, but you play both sides of it. Sometimes it works out for you, sometimes it doesn't. And I agree with you, Harry. I don't mind the emotion coming out after the Grand Prix. I wouldn't want Lando Norris to say something that he doesn't think. It's just occasionally with Lando Norris's statements, there's one sentence or one or two sentences where he doesn't phrase it as well as maybe he could do. In terms of the red flag rule, Sam, because this is something that has come up again and isn't the first time it's come up in the last few years, is it time to take a look at it, or are we okay with saying that sometimes you'll benefit, sometimes you won't?
I think with any kind of caution that we have in Formula One, yellow flags, double yellows, the red, there's definitely some review that needs to be done. And it feels like Formula One are afraid to borrow from other series. We saw it very much in qualifying with the amount of red and yellow flags that were brought out from crashes on their own in that instance, where multiple times a driver would crash towards the end of a series or a part of qualifying rather, and they would find themselves going through essentially to Q2 or Q3, but they wouldn't be able to get back in the car. Their car would be wrecked. Someone else is knocked out by maybe a 10th who couldn't get their lap time in, because Max Verstappen is a prime example here. Red flag comes out. He can't get his lap time in. He's knocked out. But the driver that crashed, Lance Stroll, had made it through to Q3. So essentially, other drivers have been punished for your mistake, and he got a better starting spot. Not that he did anything with it. So when it comes to the race, should they be allowed to do things like change tyres? It should literally be in my eyes, an inspection from someone from the steward's office who goes down and checks on each set of tyres and goes, you have enough tread or your tyres are in good enough condition that you are safe. If you are not safe, then this is where it gets a little bit difficult. In theory, you need to change those tyres, but then you're getting an advantage. So then surely teams, if they know there's a red flag coming, or maybe at turn one, a red flag gets called, they've got to drive all the way around to the pit lane to come back in, and they go, my tyres are all right and I want fresh tyres. Are they going to start running over debris? Are they going to start trying to go over curbs at funny angles? Are we going to see silly behaviour to give themselves an advantage? It's not a simple, straight answer of no tyre changes under red flags. I really don't think it is that simple to make that change, but I do think that something needs to be done to stop an absolute risk-taking team going, we're going to crash at any second, but if there's a red flag, we're winning this race. And I don't think that's right for safety either. So something should change. Just can't quite put my finger on how to word that change.
All I've now got is visions of engineers just with chisels at tyres, like, get off,
Scuff them,
come on.
scuff them.
Any thoughts on the red flag rules as they exist right now, Harry?
You're never going to win. There's never going to be a perfect solution to this. I think what they have now is as good as it can be, certainly in terms of the race, because you could say the status quo must be maintained. You cannot work on your car. It has to be the same as it was. But then that is unfair. For example, say Norris and Russell pit, they get fresh tyres. Verstappen and the Alpines can't pit. They have to restart the race on old tyres, but with no gaps. There's no gap to Russell and Norris behind. So that is unfair in itself. So I think what you have now, at least it levels the playing field. You're starting again. You can replace front wings. Everyone can change their tyres. I know it will be unfair to those that pit, but most of the time that's unlucky. I think I mentioned this on Sunday. I think where I don't agree with and this specifically to wet races where there's red flags, is like the goal hanging for a red flag, because there are drivers out there on intermediate tyres who came in for more intermediate tyres when it was quite clearly wet tyre conditions, because they're just hanging around because they know it's going to be a red flag, and that seems like an unfair way to do it. And those that came in for wet tyres, Sergio Perez, Yuki Tsunoda, for example, are punished because they came in to they made the right call in terms of tyres. And if the race carried on, they'd have done well. And those that didn't, because they just stayed out because they sort of knew this was going to happen, gained an advantage. And I think I've got no solution for that. I don't know how you police that, how you tell teams, drivers, or tell them not to goal hang for red flags when it's raining. It's a very specific problem, but it's probably the only bit I would try and alter or change. But for now, I think generally they've got it pretty good.
Yeah, it is a tough one, because what can you do? Like, as the FIA, can you mandate an entire grid to say at this point you have to go on to full wets or you have to come off of full wets? Like, we don't want to over police this thing, but at the same time, these drivers and these teams, they're not going to, from a safety perspective, protect themselves from themselves, because performance is everything in the sport. It is a tricky one. It is a tricky one indeed. Before we go to our first break, I do just want to give 2 shout outs. We did our Patreon birthday shout outs last week. We've got 2 late entries. One of them I forgot, and one of them managed to get theirs. It was after the episode aired, but it was still in October that they got their message in. So I will give them both a shout out. John and Zach, happy birthday for October birthdays for you both. Let's go to our first break. On the other side, we've got comments about Colapinto and his future in F1. Hello, everyone. It's been a while since I've had to do one of these, but it's disclaimer time because we were silly. We recorded our episode a day earlier than it's being released, which of course meant that opened the door for Sauber to actually announce who will be in their second seat for 2025. You'll know that is now Gabriel Bortoleto. We'll discuss that in full on the podcast at a later date, probably on Sunday's episode. But at least for today's episode, you'll likely hear us talk about Franco Colapinto, his potential future options. Of course, Sauber, whilst it wasn't necessarily a probability he was going to go there, it does pop up during this conversation. So just know that Gabriel Bortoleto has been announced. The current Formula 2 leader of the championship has been announced at Sauber. So if you hear us talk about that as an option during this episode, that's no longer the case. Enjoy the show. Welcome back, everyone. Franco Colapinto has made a fair impact, hasn't he, since he made his debut? 5 races into his career now, and attention is turning to what could 2025 hold for him. Obviously, not many seats left on the grid, but potentially some interest in the paddock. James Vowles had the following to say about it at the Brazilian Grand Prix weekend. Go look outside. There was tens of thousands of individuals here to support a driver that's been in our championship for 5 races. He's doing an outstanding job on track. And as I've said from the very beginning, earn your position and elements will come your way. But beyond there, I think, especially when we look at the fact he's a 21-year-old, and my responsibility is also towards him and making sure we do the right thing. Harry, what do you think his options are?
His option is to hope that there's a seat that comes available very soon. I know there's been rumours about Red Bull. The Red Bull rumour, can we just stop that immediately now? He's not going to Red Bull.
2 minutes later.
That will be tomorrow. That'll come out. But I just don't buy that. I know Christian Horner's been not snooping. He was invited into the Williams hospitality
for some coffee, right?
Yeah.
Delightful Lavazza coffee.
I love a coffee. But I think it would require Red Bull to buy signs out of his Williams contract, which I'm sure James Vowles would ask for $100 gazillion for, because Williams could do with a bit of that, and that would mean a spare seat at Williams. The other one is potentially RB, because they might see. I know we're getting on to Tsunoda next, but they might see Tsunoda as it's he's had long enough and it's time to stop. And I think if Red Bull could get Carlos Sainz, which baffles me that they're even. Why didn't you sign him up beforehand, you morons? He's been free for ages. He's been free since February. But if they could get Carlos Sainz, then maybe that's the option in for Colapinto. The other one is Audi, but quite frankly, I think they've forgotten they actually have to fill a second seat at this point.
I don't think they will.
One seat only.
One's enough, isn't it?
They think it's a single-seater sport.
Yeah, they've cloned Nico Hulkenberg and do it twice. That's the other one, but that feels unlikely. There's a lot of options on the table for them. I just don't feel like they'll go for Colapinto. But yeah, the Red Bull link is the most likely one. It's just where that goes. I think the more likely one would be Red Bull trying to get signs, and then they can keep Colapinto that way. I don't know whether Red Bull are that interested in Colapinto. As impressive as he's been, I don't know whether they're that interested in having him. Because if they were, why have they not seen any interest or given any interest in his junior career ever? I don't know. Anyway, so that's what I think. But it seems unlikely that he'll be here next year. I mean, that guarantees it now that I've said that.
Assuming he doesn't get a race seat next year, would you rather he was racing elsewhere plus a Williams reserve role?
Yeah, I think definitely keep his eye in. Obviously, he was doing F2 this year. He was doing F2 before, yeah. So I don't think go back to F2, but certainly keep your eye in elsewhere. IndyCar, Super Formula, that tends to be one where F1 drive.
It'd be fun in IndyCar.
It would be fun in IndyCar. Actually, go and do it in IndyCar. Nothing else, please, Franco. You'd be excellent. But yeah, definitely keep your eye and don't sit on the sidelines for a year.
What do you think, Sam? Does he have options?
No. I don't think there's a single option there unless a miracle happens for him. And this is no reflection on Franco Colapinto. I think he really has been sublime since coming into the sport. 5 points so far under his belt. Albon's only got 12 across the whole season. So he's definitely made an impression and he's definitely helped with Williams' endeavour to try and move up that points tally. But realistically, and again, this is no slight on Franco Colapinto, unless he was literally the best driver on the grid and Red Bull made the decision to completely buy out his contract, why would they ever bother loaning Franco Colapinto off of Williams? What's the point? What do they gain from that by putting him in the RB? That they have a junior driver program for a reason. If you're going to take a risk and put someone new in that RB seat that isn't already Lawson or Tsunoda, and you've already got rid of Daniel Ricciardo, then surely you put someone in there from your current RB family, your junior driver family. You've got Isaac Hadjar, for example, who has been very promising. So, or Iwasa, maybe, who's also been quite promising. There's younger drivers there who they have nurtured, they have invested in, they have grown, that if there is going to be a seat available all of a sudden, that's where they go. Unless they can literally get Colapinto entirely out of his contract and make him a Red Bull family driver, I just can't see the benefit for anyone involved in Red Bull to have Colapinto driving that car, especially as RB Racing Bull's Visa Cash App, whatever we're calling it, isn't going for wings, isn't going for championships. They don't need a driver who is ready-made, who is able to kind of kick them forward. It's a development system. They're there to develop for Red Bull. So use it appropriately. The only way I think he gets in is if Sainz is poached by Red Bull. And if that happens after what Harry's just said, bloke's been free since February, just sitting there on a park bench, whistling along.
Hello.
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 Say hello back. You know, go and pick him up. The bloke's desperate for some company.
Walking past him, like, I don't see it. I knew you are.
Okay, oh, who's that?
Hello.
No, can't get you. Can't get you, mate. He's a talented driver. And if you suddenly decide to now go and pick him up, then, God, what a mess. So, unfortunately, I can't see him getting a drive for 2025 unless a new team appears and they buy out Franco Colapinto's contract and he drives with them. But that won't be happening either.
Him and Colton Hurt is going to be a great lineup for Andretti next year, I'll tell you that.
I actually would love to see that.
They're not going to finish any races.
Front row start every race. DNF every race.
Yep. No points.
His options are limited, in a word. At least for a full-time race seat. Sauber, I don't think is on the cards. He's still ahead of someone in the pecking order. Don't know who.
Yeah,
because
forgotten.
Yeah, he doesn't exist. So, of course, he's ahead of him in the pecking order. But outside of that, I think they're looking probably at either Bottas or Bortoleto is currently the favourite, I think, to occupy that seat. And you might be thinking, well, Bortoleto is a McLaren junior driver. It looks like if that was to come to fruition, they would be able to get him out of the McLaren program completely to then become a Sauber / Audi driver. So the Williams link obviously does make this far more unlikely from a RB perspective. I'm with you. What you said in the first instance, Harry. Red Bull, no, it's not happening. And if it does happen, someone has completely lost their marbles. Actually, no, maybe it will happen. No, I'm predicting it will happen now. But yeah, I think RB is the only possibility if things really do go his way. Obviously, at the moment, Sergio Perez is very confident that he'll be around next year for the senior team, in which case Lawson and Tsunoda would continue on at the junior team, but that doesn't look maybe as secure as Sergio Perez thinks it is. And yeah, I was kind of going along the same wavelength of, does Sainz get bought out of his contract to then make room for Colapinto at Williams? Obviously, it's a good thing to have from Williams' perspective that they've got currently 3 drivers that they can rely on. But I just don't understand. You said $1 gazillion, Harry, and that might be accurate as to what Williams would want, because what other reason are they going to give him up? What have Red Bull got to trade? Like, here's one Sergio Perez. It's probably not happening. There's not a lot to trade, right? You're going to have to delve into the junior academy for potential future assets before Williams would consider that. I guess from Red Bull's perspective, it makes sense to keep tabs on Carlos Sainz, because it was quite telling when he won for Ferrari last week and he was like, it's going to be sad that I can't compete for wins next year. Hint, hint. But maybe that was nothing. As you say, they could have signed him 6 months ago, 5 months ago, 4 months ago. They had so many opportunities. It's like a dog, like when you've got their toy and they've got no interest in the toy until you have it. Like for months, that toy, Carlos Sainz in this instance, woof woof, has just been sat there, bark, and nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. And then all of a sudden someone picks him up and Red Bull is actually interested in him, apparently. If he does go to RB, I mean, it's a maybe, but also I feel like if you are Red Bull, you back your own program, right? You back, unbelievably, I'm going to agree with Helmut Marko here, when he said, we've got Isaac Hadjar, who was beating him in F2. So why would we take Colapinto over Hadjar? I appreciate Colapinto might be a slightly more known commodity because he's had a grand total of 5 starts and Hadjar's had none, but you don't invest that much time in a junior career just to then have an opportunity to sign someone and then go and poach Colapinto from Williams. It doesn't make any sense. So if they do need to make a change, if there are changes at the senior team, go with Hadjar, don't go with Colapinto. I hope he does IndyCar next year because that would be fun.
Agreed.
Him and Magnussen, get them both in IndyCar.
And Sargent as a 3-person team.
Nah, not Sargent.
Not mad about that.
Okay, that's conflicting answers from the team. Good stuff.
Shall we have a look at F1 Fantasy?
No.
I heard yes. Did everyone else hear yes?
It was always bound to be someone that fell on their face with that chaos. Of course, it was me.
Can you guess which of the 4 of us didn't do very well this week?
Imagine if it wasn't me.
Well, before we get to the 4 of us, we need to get to 3 individuals that are doing far, far better than all 4 of us combined. So, the Fiat. The Fiat's back. The Cinquento's leading the way.
Wow.
Out of nowhere.
Fiat Twitter, rise up.
Cinquento
Damn
out
right.
of nowhere.
So leading the way is Fiat Cinquento. Second place, It's All Gone Wrong. And third place, Prancing Zebras. But there's just 10 points separating those 3 teams. Ooh. So just a few rounds to go. That could be very interesting and a battle that none of us will be featuring in whatsoever. Leading the way for the Brazilian Grand Prix, very specifically, was Catfished by Denny's. Well done to you. I'm not going to pretend to understand the name, but well done for winning this week. But how did the 4 of us do? My no negative chip worked wonders for me this weekend. The amount of crashes there were. I've managed to go up 42 places to be 138th, which I was very relieved to see. Kirsty's making progress. 31 positions up to 240th now, which is still a little bit too close for comfort. So 3 rounds to go. I hope it will stay as it is. Sam, you are... Oh no. 61 positions down. 376th.
That's what happens when you have Ferrari in your team, isn't it?
Kirsty's now closer to me than you.
Do I use the same line again?
Yeah.
That's what I was. Yeah, Ferrari in your team, isn't it? I think oh my God.
What was that?
Firework is going off next to my head. I think all of my team crashed, apart from Charles Leclerc. I think every single one of them either crashed or didn't finish. It was a bad week.
Yeah, not great. But he's got us right where he wants it. Up 14 more positions. 1,469th now, Harry Eade.
Nice.
You are flying, mate. There's a 1,400 in front of him, mate. Come on.
69th, though.
Can we do the meme? Oh, stop! I'm trying to do a podcast.
Is this giving away that we might have recorded this the day before it goes live? It's the 5th of November.
Bonfire night on the 6th here in the UK.
Can we do the meme again, but with Ben in the church, Kirsty behind him, me behind Kirsty,
And I'm the sniper.
Harry with the sniper.
Yeah, but he's pointing at his own face.
He's actually on the other side of the world.
It's actually like a toy gun or
It's a water pistol.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. It went well. And I had Haas of one of my teams. I still gained positions, which is unbelievable.
Don't rub it in. I had Williams and Ferrari.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's nasty. I'll be back.
Hang on. So your two constructors collectively had 5 crashes on Sunday.
Yes. It was a very bad day.
Pretty impressive, that.
So I'm only losing 60 places. I'll take, to be honest. I thought I was going to be well down.
I put Gasly in my team before Brazil. That's done me wonders.
Oh, mate.
That is sensational.
Good work.
Thank you.
Nice one. You finally made a good change.
The only one. Colapinto's in it as well, just to level that one out. But anyway.
Sure.
I have a question for you, Harry. 1,469th with just a few rounds to go. What's the target?
1,000 and... No, it'll be like 1,600. How many in the league?
Your target can't be worse than what you are at the moment.
Yeah, but if my expectations are low, then anything is a bonus at this point.
Fair. Do you reckon you can get to the 1,300s?
The 1,300s?
Yeah, I mean, 3 rounds to go.
I'm chipping away at like 14 positions at a time here. I'm like...
You just need to elevate that a little bit.
I'm like Norris trying to chip away at Verstappen's lead. It's all going to go wrong. I'm going to have my Brazil next week.
Hold on. It's more like Zhou Guanyu trying to chip away at Max Verstappen's lead. Thank you.
Yeah, so the 1,300s. I didn't mean to the lead.
Well, yeah. I believe in you. 1,300s by Abu Dhabi.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate it.
No chance.
Oh, crap.
We're going to take our second break at this point. On the other side, we're chatting about Yuki Tsunoda.
Proper rules.
Oh, no, I pressed the wrong one.
The wrong button.
Ooh, Papa.
Crap.
Yeah.
Very warm welcome back to the third part of today's episode. We're now going to talk about Yuki Tsunoda, who has been given a postseason test for Red Bull Abu Dhabi. Christian Horner had the following to say: Yuki is a member of the junior team. Well done. Well identified. It's something that we've discussed with Honda. It's something that's been agreed for quite some time, and it will be, again, good to give him a run and get the opportunity to work with Red Bull racing engineers and see how he performs in a Red Bull racing car. Sam, is this just a nice gesture? Is this them having some other intentions? What do you think?
Yuki has had, for the most part, a very strong season. Arguably his best season in Formula One. He kick-started the year very well, and usually we like to run the joke of he can only do the first and the last race of the season. And typically, that means that he kept his seat. Well, he defied that, and he actually did a very, very good job up until maybe just after Spain, where he had a bit of a lull, and the car wasn't ideal. But he's brought that back. Last couple of races haven't been ideal, but he beat Liam Lawson in Brazil, and that was a chaotic Grand Prix. He's definitely settled as a midfield driver of Formula One level, and I think there's no insult on that. These drivers are incredible, and Tsunoda is a real talent. But do I think this is anything more than just a Honda are our engine supplier, and they probably said at some point in their contract that it stipulates that Yuki Tsunoda, the Japanese driver, gets to go in the Red Bull, and they can't give it to him in a competitive session, so he gets it in the testing session? Unfortunately, yes. I think if Red Bull wanted to give Yuki Tsunoda any chance of getting that Red Bull drive, they can make it happen by now. He was in better form when Sergio Perez was struggling around the summer break. If they were going to ever make a change and they wanted to make that swap and take a risk on Yuki, they've had the time. They've had the chances. I really think the boat sailed for Yuki Tsunoda. I think he's trapped in this limbo, this purgatory world of the RB junior team, where he's the longest servant of this junior team. And until someone is willing to buy him out, or Honda...
Does he go when Honda goes?
Well, exactly. Or Honda take him with them to Aston Martin as part of that contract, which I also can't see happening because Alonso is firmly put and Lance Stroll is the immovable force. Then I don't see him having a seat anywhere else either. It's a really tricky place for Yuki Tsunoda to be. And this is what happens sometimes if you do go into that Red Bull Junior program. You're not quite good enough for Red Bull, but you are definitely good enough for Formula One, which I believe Yuki is. So I do think this is a contract stipulation. I do think they put a nice bit of PR spiel around it to make it look all nice. Realistically, they need someone to drive the car in testing. It fits both the bills for them.
Harry, you on the same wavelength as old cynical Sam over here?
Sorry.
Yeah, this means absolutely sweet FA. Sorry, Yuki.
The Football Association.
It means, yes. Sweet Football Association. Look, they've had enough time to look at Yuki Tsunoda and what he can do. What is one test in Abu Dhabi at the end of the year, end of the year going to show them? Nothing. The end of that test at the end of the year, they get to run two cars. One has to have a rookie. The other one can have a non-rookie in. Verstappen ain't doing it, and they don't need Sergio doing it. So, Yuki, you're busy. I don't think this is anything. I'm cynical, Harry, as well. I don't think this is anything to be excited about in terms of Yuki getting that seat potentially. I just, like I say, I just don't think. There's nothing he can do on that day in a Red Bull around Abu Dhabi that's going to convince them versus what he's already done in a AlphaTauri, Visa Cash App Minardi over the past 4 years. So yeah, so I just don't buy it as anything other than perhaps it's just contract stipulation with Honda. Maybe it's almost like a nice little farewell gift to Yuki. I don't know, but. I'm pretty cynical, pretty skeptical about this one.
I was hoping at least one of you wasn't going to be cynical. Now I'm going to have to try and spin this positively. No, I'm going to start negatively because it's not good that he was talking about Honda as part of. As soon as he's asked about this, the first thing he talks about is something we've discussed with Honda. That's not particularly encouraging. Now, this could maybe be just Christian Horner managing Yuki Tsunoda's expectations almost in the public sphere, like saying that it's not anything more than a Honda contractual obligation. Maybe it's that, but that isn't good. If I can, I'll try and give you maybe a little bit of optimism, Yuki Tsunoda. At last year's post-Abu Dhabi test, there were two sets of drivers, essentially. Young drivers who had never competed in F1 and current drivers, all of which were racing for the team that they raced for in the season. There was nothing in them. There was none of what you're about to do, which is race for a different team than you're a part of. Maybe that's something. It didn't happen at all last year. And also, at least Christian Horner has, as part of this statement, said about how he performs in a Red Bull racing car. He was very specifically, twice, he mentioned Red Bull racing very specifically. I don't know if this is an opportunity for him to prove himself outside of the AlphaTauri Visa Cash App RB program, because even though he has been there a while, it has been maybe a little bit tricky to compare him against teammates. When he was against Gasly, he was obviously nowhere near ready. He was thoroughly outclassed by him. Since then, Nick de Vries, can you really read too much into that? I don't know. He quite comfortably beats Daniel Ricciardo, but that's the same Ricciardo that struggled at McLaren. Can you read into that? He's faced Liam Lawson twice, but he will not finish a race when Liam Lawson also finishes, apart from Brazil last time out. So he's made it, it's not Tsunoda's fault, but it has been somewhat tricky to compare him to other AlphaTauri drivers and say definitively he's doing a good job, he's doing a bad job, or what is probably more likely, somewhere in the middle. My instinct is this is just a bit of a throw him a bone, but he's never raced in a Red Bull before. It will be a new experience for him. He's just got to see it as an opportunity and see where it goes from there. Let's move on to someone who isn't looking like getting a seat next year, maybe. At least not at the moment. Valtteri Bottas, obviously currently of Sauber. He's talking about Mercedes' return, which maybe isn't good news for those of you wanting to see Bottas on the grid next year. Certainly not out of the question that he could be racing for Sauber. He said he's considering all options available to him for 2025 if Sauber chooses not to renew his contract, including a return to Mercedes. He said, firstly, the priority is to stay as a race driver. That's what I want, and that's what we're pushing for with Mattia Binotto. But of course, as I don't have anything signed, we're in October as it was when he said this, I'm going to look at all the alternatives, including going back to the Mercedes family. That's for sure one option, and I would consider it. There's other options as well, but my priority is to be a race driver in Formula One. Harry, I guess we'll start with the Sauber conversation. Do you think that's still alive for him? And then secondly, if that doesn't come to fruition, is Mercedes an option?
Is it still alive for Sauber? I mean, yeah, there must be still some chance. But if Sauber and Audi wanted Bottas, they'd have signed him by now. And I just feel like that's
Bottas isn't holding it up, right?
No, exactly. He's literally at the door with Mattia Binotto.
Or a pen.
Yeah, come
Take
on.
Take it.
Hello.
Hello.
Mattia, hello. Yeah, so that just reeks of slightly slipping away now for Bottas. But I wouldn't say it's over because he's in the best position versus anyone else who might be wanting that seat, and that he's with the team and he's driving their car. Sorry, driving their toaster. So yeah, I don't know whether that's gonna happen. It's not looking great. The Mercedes idea, I don't know if that's his or Toto's, but that's terrible. Don't do that. What are you gaining, Valtteri, by going back to Mercedes and being a reserve driver? You might get a drive if Antonelli or George Russell has a stomach bug. It's not going to lead to anything. Is my point here? It's not like he's a reserve driver and he's much younger in his career. I don't know. This do you know what this smells of? It smells of Papa Toto trying to bring another driver back onto his wing. Mick Schumacher.
Antonelli won't be standing behind him every weekend. He needs someone else to fill the role.
Oh,
it was D'Ambrosio, then he left.
Yeah, it's got Gutierrez. He could do that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's SD Goot, isn't it?
Mick Schumacher was doing it for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, he still does, I guess.
Occasionally.
And maybe Toto's lonely on the weekends that Mick is doing whack for Alpine, so he just needs a buddy. But it does sort of feel like that's a conversation that's just happened when Toto said, come on, Valtteri, you can come back and just stand behind me for a season. But for Valtteri, don't do that. Go and do something fun. Go and do IndyCar. Go and do WEC. Go and do something. Don't just stand as a Formula One reserve driver because your talents are far too good for that. At this stage of his career, his talents are far too good for that. It's not worth it.
What do you think, Sam?
I'm very, very sad. Very sad. As a Bottas lover, a man that loves the bots, I am quite gutted that this could be the end of Valtteri on our Formula One grid.
That's very morbid. It's the end.
It is the end, my friend. The end. I feel sad about it. He deserves more, I think. I think he deserves more time. I think he deserves another season. I think Sauber should have given him another season, but I do think the ship has sailed. If they were going to sign it, they would have signed it. Is Bortoleto able to show you anything else before making that decision? Porsche, the forgotten man, Exactly. In theory, what more are these individuals outside of Formula One going to show you that Valtteri Bottas can't prove more of? He has been brilliant in a car that has been quite literally a dumpster fire on wheels for an entire season. He's doing everything he can. He out-qualified Lewis Hamilton in Brazil in those conditions. He was so close so many times to getting points in that pile of poo, and yet he still isn't good enough to get a seat. But I think the issue for Valtteri is it's not that he's not good enough. I think it's his age. I think it's how long he's got left in the sport. And I think Audi have, as we've already discussed on the show previously, ticked the experience box with Hulkenberg, and they now want a long-term talent that they can put in their car that is going to grow with the team and gain experience. And then if they become a race-winning car, a title challenger in, 3-4 years, in theory, that young talent will no longer be that young talent, but will be fully established and up and coming and really quite something special. And it's their talent. They've nurtured it. And Bottas doesn't tick any of those boxes. which is a real shame. Do I want him to go to Mercedes? I understand the comfort of going back to your old employer where you had so many fond memories. He's had wins there. He's had pole positions there. Him and Lewis got along so well. Of course, Lewis won't be there when he were to go back. But no, Valtteri, no, get on a racetrack. There's so many brilliant classes of motorsport that you could be a part of, whether that be WEC. Go to Mercedes and be a WEC driver. They have Mercedes and GT3. Go and be a part of that. Go and join the IndyCar lineup, do something like that. Go and drive a B8 motor in your native land of Australia. They absolutely love you down there in some kind of Ford or something going crazy. I'd love to see it. He's so good behind the wheel of a race car. It would just be a shame to see him spend a whole year with his arms crossed, slightly blurred out because he's in the background of Toto Wolff for an entire season. And I don't want that. The moustache deserves more. So, yeah, I'm pretty gutted, but it looks more likely than not that Bottas is going to be off the grid for 2025.
I would be surprised at this stage. I still think he's in the running if they, for whatever reason, get cold feet with Bortoleto, but it seems likely they won't go with Bottas for the reasons that you've stated. He can't really do anything more. He's in the seat at the moment, proving himself. He's had a really good season. No one's seen it because he's been so far down due to how poor the car is, but he's had a really good season. And if Sauber and Binotto are sort of just waiting around to see if the car improves for him to be able to deliver some performances a little bit closer to the front, they're probably going to be waiting a long time. That car is a toaster. A toaster will always be a toaster, I'm afraid. But
put that in the book.
Put that in the book. Damn right. In terms of next season, in terms of Mercedes, I wouldn't mind if he goes back as reserve driver. And the reason is he doesn't just have to do that. Like, it's similar to Mick Schumacher. Like, he can still do other series whilst he's in that role. And I just think it would be good for him to stay attached to the F1 world in some way with an eye on getting a seat back in 2026. Maybe I'm being optimistic. I think there's a good chance that if he doesn't get a seat for next year, it's not the end of his career in F1. I think there's a good chance a team will at some point pick him up. I don't think it's going to be Mercedes. So when I say that going back to Mercedes, I think is a good idea. It's not because I think he could step in for Antonelli or Russell, although from Mercedes' perspective, it's not bad having a driver as a reserve driver who's driven your car so many times. I think it's more based on how well connected Toto Wolff is, how well connected Mercedes generally quite are in terms of how many teams they supply. See, we know Bottas to Williams was a bit of a rumor earlier on this season. It doesn't look like that would be in their future based on how many good drivers Williams seem to have at the moment, but things change quickly in Formula One. So I would quite like him to stay attached to F1 in some way. This seems like a way to do it with an eye to maybe get him back on the grid for 26. We've seen the likes of Hulkenberg, Magnussen, even Ricciardo, like experienced drivers go away from the sport and then get another opportunity. There aren't many drivers who can do what Bottas does. He is a reliable pair of hands. I think there's every chance that come 2026, there's a team that would do far worse than look at him as an option.
I suppose from a Mercedes point of view, if Antonelli comes into the team, he's an absolute flop. Bings the car every Grand Prix till the summer break, barely scores a point, nowhere near Russell, is horrible. Like, absolute horror show. There are worse options for Mercedes to put in Bottas next to Russell for the rest of the season at least. And he, as you already mentioned, is a fantastically safe pair of hands that, for the most part, will always deliver a pretty solid result for you. And his qualifying pace, it looks still pretty electric. The last few Grand Prix, he's really excelled in that Sauber. So it wouldn't be a disaster for Mercedes to have him in their roster. I just think it would be a shame to waste that talent not on the racetrack.
Do you think, Carrie, there's a chance if he does lose his seat this year that it's not the end for him?
I mean, never say never. Look at Kevin Magnussen. He's come back from the dead about 15 times.
Like the Undertaker.
Yeah.
I can't wait for him to be alongside Verstappen next year. That's going to be fun.
First race of the season, just takes the helmet off and it's Kevin Magnussen.
Still peddling that rumour. No, it's not the end, and who knows what will happen in 26. Yeah, I think he just needs to keep his eye in somehow and not sit completely on the sidelines. Because there won't be a huge amount opening up, but you just don't know. It just happens in F1 sometimes where a seat opens up unexpectedly, and and then Bottas could be in. So I would not say it's unlikely.
I can't believe we had the Bottas or Russell discussion for years, and it's going to end up being both. That's the answer was both all along.
Bottas and Russell.
Yeah. Not too sure about that. Anyway, let's take our final break on this episode. On the other side, we're playing back and forth. Welcome back, everyone. It is time for F1 Back and Forth.
F1. Back and forth, it's F1. Back and forth, it goes backwards. Then goes forth, it's F1. Back and forth, F1. I wonder how many times we've played this game.
Too many.
Harry,
Sorry.
grow up.
Sorry, I meant not enough.
You'll pause the show. You're going to go outside and touch some grass. Come back in. And you're
Sounded like I said too many, but I actually meant not enough.
Right, sure.
You misheard me. You're the problem.
Do you want to hear some good news based on how much you apparently hate back and forth, Harry?
Yeah, go on then.
I've actually got a choice between two back and forths to play today because there's another one coming up later in the month. So which one do I do? Okay, this is the one I'm going to settle on. Like, you know what the other option is. 17 correct answers to this question, and I'll give you a strike.
Oh.
When was the last time you didn't give us a strike, Ben? They're all really hard these days.
It's because he's running out of the normal topics.
Easy topics.
I'm just being nicer. I don't think they're getting more difficult.
Oh, okay, sure. He just wants
Which
to
is
get
why you're getting no strikes. No, you can have a strike. Anyone who debuted in F1 between 2007 and 2010.
Oh, I can't be bothered. I can't be bothered.
Sam, how many times do you think we played back and forth? Too many.
Not enough.
17 correct answers to this one, and we'll kick off with Harry.
Lewis Hamilton.
You know what? He did debut between 2007 and 2010. In 2007, of course, when he came straight into McLaren and won the championship the following year. Sam.
Sebastian Vettel.
Sebastian Vettel, another one who debuted in 2007, although unlike Hamilton, it wasn't at the beginning of the year. Middle of the year, he comes in for BMW Sauber. The rest is history for him as well. Harry.
Heikki Kovalainen.
We love 2007 here.
Yeah, big 07s.
He debuted in 2007 as well, which means you've got half of those that debuted in that year. Sam, back to you.
Oh. I'm just tired.
That was a real sad sigh.
Nakajima.
We are loving 07 here. Nakajima debuted in 2007. Harry.
Sebastian Buemi.
I mean, it's right, but it's not 2007, so I might just say it's wrong.
Care.
He debuted in 2009 for Toro Rosso. Well done. Sam.
Bordeaux.
For goodness sake, Bordeaux.
You know I do it on purpose, don't you?
No. It's like the banker all over again. Sebastian south of France, we're going to call him.
The first answer wasn't quite right, but the second answer, Sebastian Bordeaux, was correct.
The town of Bordeaux.
One of the two drivers that debuted in 2008. Harry, back to you.
Okay.
2008, damn. I don't know. Jerome D'Ambrosio.
No.
Oof.
I think you might be thinking of someone who isn't Jerome D'Ambrosio.
You might be thinking of someone else.
Okay.
I'm not sure. D'Ambrosio, I think, was 2012.
Maybe it was 2011, actually.
Maybe 2011. Anyway, it's not a correct answer, I'm afraid.
Okay.
Sam, back to you.
Was the other 081 Bobby Kay?
No.
Damn.
And he wasn't 07 either. He debuted in 06, I believe.
Darn.
Which means it's a strike each.
Oh, no.
Back to you, Harry.
Nelson Piquet Jr.
I was going to say D'Ambrosio again.
Yeah, Jerome D'Ambrosio Jr.
Nelson Piquet Sr., I'm afraid, debuted back in 1979. So it's an incorrect answer.
Damn.
Yeah, he was the other 2008 answer. Well done. Sam, back to you.
Romy G?
Romy G, that is a good shout. Obviously, it's forgotten that he was in that Renault for 2009, but that is when he debuted. And it didn't go well. Harry, back to you.
Sorry, it did not go well. Goodness me. 2010 we're counting, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah. Karun Chandok.
Karun Chandok is
Friend
the
of the podcast.
first of 5 names from 2010. Absolutely correct. He tried in that. You think the Sauber is a toaster? I don't know what we would call that HRT.
HRT, man. Goodness me.
Sam, back to you.
Alp Schwaringang.
Yes. I like how that one's acceptable, but Bordeaux isn't. Yeah.
Al-Shwari is his name. It's just the joke afterwards. But Bordeaux is just Sam saying Sam south of France. Sebastian
South of France.
Sebastian south of France.
Sam South of France Sage.
That's what they call him.
Correct answer. Yeah. Teammates with Buemi. Harry, back to you.
Bruno Senna.
Bruno Senna. We're going through 2010 now. Correct answer. Going quite well. You've got 6 more names, Sam. Can you find any more?
I've got a couple in mind. It's just whether it's the year. That's my problem. Obviously, because that is the point.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right, yeah. Because I'm a strike out, I'm trying to be a little bit, getting a bit shaky.
I'm not nervous, being a bit shaky, you know?
Getting a bit shaky. Was Hulkenberg 2010?
Yes, he was 2010. Well done. Harry, back to you.
I'm trying to think of the one who I thought was Jerome D'Ambrosio. It's driving me mad.
I mean, maybe you did genuinely mean D'Ambrosio, but I feel like maybe you didn't.
No, because he drove in that car, but it wasn't. It was obviously not in 2010. How many we got left?
You've got 5 left.
May we ask the years?
If I get permissions from Sam, yes.
We've done 08. You've told us that already.
True.
So we've got 07, 09, and 10 left.
Yeah, you've got. You've got
Well, I didn't know whether
2 from 07, 2
2
from
from
10,
07.
and then 1 from 09.
I didn't know if we hadn't done 07 yet. Oh God. I think this is wrong, but Timo Glock.
You know what? I knew Timo Glock was going to be a wrong answer from one of you. Don't know why.
He was in a Jordan earlier than that, wasn't he? Oh, what a bugger.
What a little bugger.
What a little bugger, Timo Glock.
That's what they say about him.
That's what Felipe Massa said after the
The engineer smacked his head on the wall. Oh, what a little bugger.
Unfortunately, Timo Glock is not a correct answer, which means Sam walks away with this one with the win. The other 5 names that you missed out on. 2007. You can call it a debut for this guy. It was his only race as well, but
Marcus Winkelhock.
Mr. Winkelhock is a correct answer. Also 2007, Adrian Sutil.
Oh,
yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah, it's correct. So yeah,
Is Adrian Sutil the most forgettable F1 driver in history? And I mean that with the utmost respect.
He's up there.
Tall.
He is quite tall.
Why do we forget someone who's so tall?
Maybe because when they take the photo of all the other drivers, he's skated out the frame.
Sure.
Sorry, Adrian. I'm sure you're lovely.
I could be very wrong with what I'm about to say, but I believe the next answer from 2009 replaced Timo Glock.
Kobayashi,
yeah.
Yes, of course.
So I think Glock was injured for a couple of races.
Toyota, right?
Yeah, and Kobayashi stepped in.
Ben,
and then sorry.
Put me out of my misery. Who was Timo Glock's teammate at Virgin in 2010?
Mr. Degrassi.
Oh, Christ.
Is that a correct answer?
Lucas Degrassi.
Yeah. I forgot Degrassi race in F1.
Oh my Christ, Mick. Sorry, the fireworks are very close to my house. I had a suspicion that that Petrov might have been one, but I was unsure.
That was the last answer.
There you go.
That's the 17. So well done, Sam, on the win. You've said already, both of you, that we don't play back and forth enough. I've got another segment for you that we don't do anywhere near enough, because it is, of course, the greatest segment in all of podcasting.
Wow.
It is the
LB question of the week.
From enthusiasm to just that. That was brilliant. Obviously, our question of the week was going to be about the Brazilian Grand Prix. And specifically, we chose, what was Alpine's celebration after their double podium? And as usual, some regular, normal, not weird answers.
Yes, definitely. One that really got me because of the wording, and I think in the UK it means something different because of this phrasing, but elsewhere, I guess with punctuation, maybe it makes sense. This person has said, Amanda, you have said, I'm going to read it as you've written it, and then I'll read it as I think it's meant to be phrased. Spaghetti dinner lady and the tramp style. Now, in the UK, we have dinner ladies. So to me, that sounds like you've called it a spaghetti dinner lady.
Oh, right. Okay. I'm with you.
But I think it should say spaghetti dinner, lady in the tramp style.
Spaghetti dinner lady.
Yeah, really.
It sounds
A dinner lady that only serves spaghetti.
Only comes in on the spaghetti day at school.
Comes in once every fortnight.
just imagine
Spaghetti dinner.
Sam coming into the canteen at school with his tray going, spaghetti dinner lady.
I don't want the regular one.
Spaghetti. Oh no.
Oh, no.
Oh dear. I've just lost what I'm about to say. Beth said by taking no further part in the 2024 season, which sounds very Alpine.
I mean, they weren't taking part until this race, so
Yeah,
it makes
true.
sense.
Yeah, there's some of you on here just wrong uns.
Some of you are rude.
Just wrong.
Some of you are rude.
Jordan on Instagram said rebranding the team as Renault, which would be really funny.
The countdown continues. 3180.
Honestly, tell us. What are you counting down to?
Maybe that's something to do with Alpine. I don't know. Counted down to Alpine being sobbed. I'm not sure.
Finally, someone has replied in French. Colin Jennings has said,
Oh no.
Ils mangeront une baguette et boiront du vin, which is they'll eat chopsticks and drink wine.
Charles Leclerc, is that you?
Monsieur.
No, Charles Lemaire was left in Texas and he shall not return to this show ever.
Oh,
It's been cancelled.
Spanky in the cupboard.
No.
Factually correct. Spanky
Sure.
was in the cupboard.
Sure.
He still
Tyler
is.
Horn has said by selling the team to Global.
Yeah. Rob Brooke came in with one that Sam's mum found funny, which was by sacking the person who is responsible for sacking people.
Oh, that is
like that
such my mum's hot humour. That is.
I've got a few here. Sarah said in a month there will be 9 children.
Oh,
Obviously.
Yeah. Josh saying 17th in a DNF in Vegas.
Yeah.
Which is probably actually an accurate answer. Speaking of accurate answers, I love it when there's just a deadly serious answer that is correct. So John has said, have a good night with the team, then back to work to build on this momentum.
I love it.
That's the right
Exactly.
answer. Good
Correct. You win a point. You've got 1 LB point.
one. Liam said firing Trent Alexander-Arnold. We can't afford to do that, so
No,
please
he's invaluable.
no.
He's invaluable.
And it's not funny, but I can't help but think it's funny. And it was a hidden answer, which makes it even funnier. Bram said everyone in France gets to meet the man himself,
Yes.
the chunky baker, aka Postman Pat. It's not funny,
It's the nichest joke
but
we've
it
ever
really
had.
is.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, some of the hidden answers are very, very odd. One of the hidden one is from Tyler, and it's all in capitals, and it just says "babies for everyone."
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
There was one from Twitter I wanted to shout out from Dakota, which was come back to Enstone to party, but forget the cars and equipment in Brazil.
Yeah, that would be very Alpine.
I like that Steph's just said, marriage.
Full stop. Nothing
Full
else.
stop. Nothing else mentioned.
Nothing else. Introducing their new driver for next year, Mesteban Mocon.
It's Ocon with a mustache.
Bonjour. It's already
Then why would he need to do Bonjour? Oh, Lord.
Right, that's enough for that.
I think you're right. That is enough of that. Thank you to everyone who engages with Question of the Week every week. Absolutely love your answers. We try to, as you can tell, get through as many as we can. There'll be another Question of the Week out next Monday evening UK time. So if you're on Instagram, if you're on Twitter, then check that out and make sure you come in with a funny response because it makes us laugh. And we like laughing. Sam, if you wouldn't mind for this episode at least, getting us out of here.
Sorry, the line "and we like laughing" is so oddly funny to me. I'm not sure why. It's factually true. Yeah. Do check out the socials. Producer Kirsty has a brilliant job creating loads of wonderful social media posts. And if you can see our faces, you want to see them, that's a good place to go. We've got loads of good clips on there, especially the one featuring Carlos Sainz, which has just gone live across all platforms. Personal favorite already. YouTube is a great place to watch the podcast. We are sorry that it takes a little longer to get out on YouTube, but there's a lot of editing involved. There's video, it's a large file. But if you're willing to wait an extra kind of day, you can watch us on there on YouTube. And
also, get over it.
Also, go out and touch some grass and come back. It's not the end of the world, mate. Ben's got his head in his hands. Good. But thank you to everyone that does support us on YouTube. We see all your comments. We read them all. And thank you to everyone that has a nice, lovely debate about the videos and gets involved in the conversation. Patreon's available. So if you want to go ad-free, extra content, and you want to support the show even more, and we promise you the content is actually quite good, then the link's in the description. Multiple tiers available to you, and you might have your birthday read out if you're on that top tier, much like Ben did earlier on in the show. Discord's also there. Thanks for supporting, thanks for joining in, and we'll be back on Sunday for a standard Formula 1 episode because no race on Sunday. In the meantime, I've been Samuel Sage.
I've been Ben Hocking.
And I've been Spaghetti Dinner Lady.
And remember, keep breaking late.
Hello.
Hello.
Bye-bye.